No, you can open.
All right, welcome to the meeting for State Fair Community College Board of Trustees for June 29th, 2023 for our meeting. We welcome all of you. We have kind of a full house, so we look forward to meeting some of those new folks that are new faces to us. And of course, appreciate all those who could attend. So looking at our agenda, I will call the meeting to order and will request the approval for the agenda.
Motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same signs. Do we have any citizens' comments? We have no comments. So now we get to find out who those new members of State Fair Community College are. So.
It's a song.
First, I'd like to introduce Kayla Kimbrough. Kayla, will you stand up, please? I know you're going to love that part of it, right? So Kayla has worked adjunct for State Fair Community College for how many years now, Kayla?
Since 2014.
For quite a while. She taught clinical in the year 2 program, and we are thrilled to have her on the team. She's our nursing informatics coordinator. So she's doing simulation and lab and remediation for clinical. Student support, and she's traveling between Eldon, Clinton, and Philly campus for that role. So we're thrilled to have her, and she's my neighbor. So that's awesome too. So welcome, Kayla.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're waiting for your stories about Alice and.
I'm going to stay seated, so I'm here for not. I have 3 to introduce today. First one, Jessica. Next, Kayla, stand up. Jessica is our new assistant controller. We've been looking for quite a while. She is from Sedalia. She is an alumni of State Fair Community College and has her bachelor's of arts in painting from William Woods University, correct? And she's been in a variety of places around town, knows the county very, very well. And she's glad.
Welcome.
Next is Scott Semino. Scott is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And had a lot of college in Texas. Went the same college that my sister went to. You don't know that, Sam Houston State University. Also got a degree from Tarleton State University. So he's been around the state a bit. He recently retired from the U.S. Air Force, where he has been I don't know how to describe it. So, there's over a whole lot of responsibility in the HR area. How about that? Like massive amounts of responsibility for that. His first year was at a community college. I think he's looking forward to getting back a little bit to us. So we love that. Thank you. Bye.
Welcome.
Last night, we had a staff member who had a flat tire and Scott helped him change his tire. So that's
As well as you.
I didn't want us to be. Raw water.
And then one more, lastly, Andy, who you just met earlier today, and he gave a little bit about himself, but I'll officially introduce Andy. Andy was born, raised, and still lives in Sedalia. Has worked in a variety of different roles. He's worked for the city of Sedalia. He's worked for Pettis County. He's also worked for the state of Missouri. So now he's going to come work for a subdivision of the state of Missouri Community College. We're glad to have him. He's got a variety of degrees from Western Governors University. And I think his same thing, he has kind of a heart in it for moving back. So glad to have him on board. Already had a big impact.
Welcome, Mandy. Dr. Porter.
I have 2 new additions to the student success team. We'll start with Sharon. Sharon Stavig. Sharon is a new student success specialist. So she spends all of her day supporting the student success navigator team, helping coordinate information for our transfer schools, answering questions for students, fielding the nonsense from the rest of us that work in the student services suite as well. She's a local gal, born and raised in Sedalia, migrated off to Kansas City after college, worked with Hallmark and other industries there before finally coming back home. She's most recently the coordinator of the Pettis County Senior Center before she came to State Fair. And if any of you end up with baby armadillos in your backyard, she's your girl. Right, exactly. We had the most random phone calls. I said, hey, it's armadillos. Right, so, and Sharon, being at work for 3 weeks, got that call. Take care of all of that on her own. So random. Work in student services in July and August. Tell them what you'll come across.
Welcome. Welcome.
Jennifer Farah. Jennifer, also a local gal, graduated from Cole Camp High School. She is a Bluebird, where she's a resident now. She is our health science navigator. So she spends her time guiding students through the dental hygiene, radiology tech, and sonography programs. And those students who have questions headed that direction. She's a mother of 4 boys, was a junior high teacher, and a former cop in Overland Park. So we are in good hands and not taking any mess. Thank you, ladies, for staying here. Yeah.
Welcome. Glad to have you with us.
You know a little about him. I've heard a little bit.
Oh.
It depends who you heard.
Yeah. Jessica's
She's sweet. Yeah, don't touch my wife.
Those of you who are here, if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, we certainly welcome you. But if you have other things that you know you need to do, you're certainly welcome to go at any point in time. But we welcome you to State Fair Community College.
Thank you. Y'all are good. You can stay if you want or you can go.
Those usually people run.
Introduce everybody. Why don't you run?
Oh.
Stephen.
I was gonna sneak out, sneak.
Are they gonna be off later?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, we had a person leave IT, and whenever that happens, you always sad to see it. But it gives opportunity. Dan received a promotion, filled that position, and then to fill Dan's position, Bryce Stevens.
Bryce Stevens. I know that. Did you go to Northwest?
I hear that a lot.
I did, actually, that's whenever I met Ryan Porter, I was like, I think I know you. Sir.
I think I know you. Do you remember me? This is Wood.
I think so. I'm in my mid-30s now.
I didn't recognize you. Well, welcome to you all, and I apologize. I didn't realize we had IT, but well, welcome to State Fair Community College. Righty, so now we are ready for the approval of the minutes for the May 25th, 2023 board meetings.
Motion approved. There's no objection.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. So, Keith, warrants for May of 2023.
Month, May 2023, change disbursements of $4,600,573, of which $3.1 million was as payable. Yes, our renovation payments, the dining hall payments to Westport is $78,450, payroll of $1 million, income payroll tax of $200,000, financial aid, refunds of $1,000, utilities 67. The rest, so anyway, first month's of $4.6 million during the month of May. Should approve for number 11.
Right, who's second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say aye. Okay, institutional reports, Dr. Bates.
Steve Rocha is going to introduce our first institutional report on the Missouri Health Professions Consortium.
Yes, I'm excited for Brett Butler and Cindy McCann to be here with us tonight to talk to you about the Missouri Health Professions Consortium. So the consortium model, I don't know if you're very familiar with it, but it's a beautiful model really where 5 participating community colleges can come together and basically share the enrollment burden for one program. And it really allows accessibility for some of these health science programs across the state of Missouri. So we just happen to have the directors of both the OTA and MLT programs here in our community. We have fiscal responsibility here at State Fair Community College for the OTA program. Overley Area Community College has fiscal responsibility for MLT, but Cindy McCann lives in our area and develop a regional health center. So I'll let her tell you more about herself. But do you want to start, Brett? Okay, come on up. Brett Butler has been with us for the last 3 years and has done a phenomenal job. I'm sure he's going to tell you about how he revived the OTA program.
It was a challenge, but I love a challenge. That's what brought me to State Fair. Originally from New York, and I came here from South Florida, Fort Lauderdale. So I am the OTA program director for the Missouri Health Profession Consortium. We are located here at State Fair. We are tucked away in Step 2, which I like to call the Bat Cave. Which is great. We are a hybrid program. Some are my students waiting. I wish I could have brought a student here today, but they're all in field work right now, so their hours, they're not regular hours and all over the state. So at this point, they did make a little film. Let's see if I can or too far away and I got that part. I'll show from the just the slideshow from the.
We'll just click on this link.
They won't click on it. I think it is. Unless you see hyperlink.
Control what?
Control.
Where's the keyboard?
Oh, I have.
Oh.
it.
Well, we need a keyboard. IT guy needs a keyboard.
No,
What? No? That was a browser. Wasn't it?
browse what you can use. Pick the one you want. I don't think it's gonna be. No.
You sure?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, keep swinging around.
All right, we put it back.
You copy it all. Put it in the browser. Mark, you got WRLs and.
Yeah.
You know what?
You got WRLs in the address. What's that? See, you got two. It's in there twice. Yeah. See. Oh. There you go.
Maybe the management plan, so that's what this is from all three. The video for the- This was a project sometime. So I figured since I couldn't bring a student, I would let the student, you could see the student video. So you heard from Allison that we have the 5 campuses, East Central, Moberly, State Fair, North Central Missouri College, and Three Rivers that are part of the consortium. Numbers wise, our admission numbers have been going up since the last 3 years. So you can see on the bar, we've been going up, we've been averaging, we started out in the 20s and now we've been averaging in the high 40s. We usually accept in the 50s, but by the time fall rolls around, people get it, things like that happen, and life happens. But they usually come back next year, which is really good for us. So applications are good for a year. In the class right now, we have 47 students out on Field Work 2. They're going to be graduating in August. And then the incoming class of 2024, currently we have 14 students for SFCC, which is the most we've had in the last couple of years. But we have to share that lab with another school. North Central comes to this campus for lab. So we have to split the seats. So we kind of cap between 14, 15 at SFCC. We have 9 from North Central Missouri College, which is the highest they've ever had. They usually have 1 or 2. And ECC 4, which is pretty typical. MACC is at 11, and then TRC at 14 at this. Retention, we have 96% for the last 3-year retention. We have a very high retention rate for students. We usually lose like 1 student or 2, and it's usually for personal reasons or something when they withdraw from the program. Our pass rate is for the last 3 years. Our 3-year average is 87.7. The benchmark is 80. We are working on improving that at this point. I'm working, and this will be a surprise to you all, and I'm working on a new policy called Project Finish Line. So when that's done, you'll be seeing that come across your desk, which will help students with exam prep. We've already done some things for the next class as well. Our student surveys are pretty high. Instructors score usually 4.0 or above. So the students are pretty happy with the program. Then you can see this instructor, student satisfaction, and then instructor satisfaction. You can see it's on the upswing, which is a good thing. So I have a very awesome team. Our placement rate for students that pass the NBCOT exam, which they have to take once they graduate from program, everybody is employed once they pass the exam. There is a shortage in Missouri for OTAs, and we get emails every day, all week, asking us for graduates, and we pass it out to people that have graduated. We do have students that graduate from this program, and they decide to go for another degree. So they do sometimes get their bachelor's in OT, and then they get a master's in OT as well. The program is changing. We have integrated for the fall 3D printing. We've changed, curriculum committee has already approved it, but we changed a bunch of the classes. We have therapeutic media. We do a lot of community projects, which you saw in the video. We do adaptive fishing with children. And we're going to plan to do some adaptive gaming. We're going to try to partner with a state school for next spring to do some adaptive gaming. If you looked at the SFCC and social media and Facebook, there was some pictures of our 3D printing that we've done. We've made some finger splints and things like that. So be in service to my faculty when they come back in August on how to use the 3D printer. And then we're going to have VR dogs in all 3 labs. So that's going to be a new mental health project that we're working on. So the dogs are in my office. Any questions about the program in general?
To 96% retention. I think any program would love to have. And retention rate, why is that
I can tell
retention
you
rate
why.
so high?
The retention rate is so high because my philosophy is we work with the students. We tutor students. We find the problem that's happening right away, and then we put them on an action plan. And if the student works with us, they'll do well. It's up to the student, of course, but we do offer tutoring, and I have a really dedicated staff that after hours, after classes, they'll do Zoom, tutor the students and work with the students. So I think that's why the retention rate is so high. And I've been at other schools that I worked at. That's always been my philosophy, has been, if a student comes to us, I always tell them in orientation, you got to come to us, let us know you have a problem. Like I can tell if you have a problem, great. But even if you have a personal problem, I can refer you. Each of these home campuses have mental health and counseling as well. So we can refer students for help to help them if they're struggling. So I think that's why the retention rate is so well. And I've done these at other schools, and my retention rate has always been at a very good level.
The health science programs tend to be higher, and that's not to take away
No,
from
no,
the
that's-
efforts. It's because by the time you're getting there too, you've got so much invested. In a lot of places you competed to get there, those type of things. So you're beyond just first year. So you've already been through some of the retention hurdles and
Prior
ways to
to
get-
prior
so
to
there's
actually
that.
starting the program.
But back up, right. And nursing does the same thing. All the health science, we do really well here. This is one of the things, me coming into a new place, we do fantastic on student success on the health science side, is because other schools, they'll take in 20 and with a known that they're only going to pass 16. And their number, they truly only want 16. Where we have a mentality, if we're taking in 20 are going to graduate. And it's a different philosophy, and I've come from that same, so I'm real happy about that. But that's how we are. So whatever we do, so there is a lot of effort. I don't want to take away from the health, but health always tends to be a little higher and should be because you've got that investment.
Anything else? Thank you. Found it interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's been
Who's up next?
You need help with your presentation to me or?
She's looking at one thing too. I don't know if we've really stated enough. Consortium health programs, very hard. It's more difficult that you're not just running one on one campus. The accreditation kind of is exponential, meaning you've got to think about it. Brett can't do one improvement here without doing them equally everywhere.
So he's dealing with funding from 5 different schools, 5 different priorities. What are their strategies? What are they doing? What are their student success initiatives? Those type of things. Same thing with MLT. So it's a consortium has huge advantages. Saves a lot of money and is the right thing to do, but from a management perspective, it is much more difficult than just running your typical one program. You're dealing with multiple bosses, multiple personalities.
How are the tuition dollars handled?
We do it, well, we do it, the consortium does a chargeback to each campus.
Yeah.
So the chargeback fee comes back to the consortium, so they do, the thing is the overhead is much, to run a health science program is very expensive no matter what it is. So a lot of these campus, all that equipment that's in the lab belongs to the consortium. It does not belong to the school. So even at the other 2 labs, that stuff belongs to the consortium. All the office furniture even belongs to the consortium and the computers. So the overhead for the school is a little bit lower than if they were just running the whole program themselves, where they'd have to pay for equipment and everything else. So they're able to have 1 student. Let's say one of my campuses just has 1 student. It's not going to kill them financially to have that 1 student.
And so we oversee the OTA.
Right. They are.
What school does MLT?
MACC.
Yeah, oversees the financial aspect of that.
All the
Which I don't think
students
is
pay the same tuition rate. no
Yes.
matter the-
We have agreements. And so things are also managed at, like we hired someone. And so even though we get our board approval, presidents, it's really also the consortium at the same time. You've got 5 board of trustees, 5 presidents. You're trying to make it all work. So just to give the, it's an interesting dynamic with working with consortiums. It's a great model.
Hi, my name is Cindy McKeon. I wear many hats. I used to be an adjunct professor here for the introduction of bombing class. I am a full-time laboratory director here at Buffalo Regional Health Center. And then on any given hour, I spin my hat and I become the program director for the MLT program. I have been a laboratory director or tech for over 30 years. So I started in the trenches and worked my way up. And I was offered the program director in January. I got blessed by Nationals in March, about a week before my first self-study was due. So I got to hit the ground running. And I think I probably was a little worried. They were like, do you know how to do it? And I said, what is it? It's a bunch of standards. And I went, oh, I got this. Like the lab world's big on standards. So it's just a matter of kind of shifting that paradigm thought process and think academically instead of clinically. And probably my hardest thing I've learned is I'm used to my world starting at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. and education doesn't start until later, 9 a.m. So I've had to learn how to slow down some things when I'm trying to get a hold of people. But I was very excited. It's different aspect for me to learn while I'm doing my other stuff. So I was told I had 5 minutes. And so I tried to keep this short and sweet, to the point. I don't have a YouTube video, I apologize. I will though by the next time you invite me though. Button is next.
You could hit.
Oh, okay. We're good, you can show us down, we're good. Well, will this work? Yeah, there we go, okay, I'll look at that. Oh, okay.
It's not sharing anymore. Hold on just a second.
I apologize for
It's
those
okay.
in viewing land.
Don't worry.
Everyone's good? Okay, all right, so the first 90 days of me being employed as program director, I got to come out of the gate, and on March 29th, I turned in the self-study 2023. And so that was submitted. About 2 months later, NACLS was kind enough to send me their findings, of which it was not near as long as what I was anticipating. And most of the findings that were associated with my submission were more clerical in nature. And so as I told my dean at Moberly, I was like, probably the biggest problem was I couldn't find everything. I knew what I wanted and I knew what I needed, but it was trying to find it from my predecessor who was no longer there to help kind of show me the way. So with my rebuttal, I was able to find a few more documents, come up with a few more, and I laden them with another 50 pages of documents. So I feel pretty confident that I will meet the evidence of compliance. They are due for a 2-day site visit in October, of which between now and then I will be reached out by the team leader of the inspection team, and we will discuss any additional documents they need in preparation for their 2-day visit. And I'm told pretty low key. I don't know about that from the inspector telling me it's low key, but you know, what do I know? The outcomes dashboard for MLT focus on graduation and attrition rate. And so you'll see up there in the first part of that graph from 22 through 21 through 20, our graduation rate has averaged 95% to 100% on any given year. The ASCP, let's see, how do I make that? The ASCP pass rate for certification for years 21, 20, and 19. As you can see, we were doing quite well in 19 with a 91% pass rate, and then the bottom kind of fell out. But if you'll notice, those years correspond to the pandemic. And so that threw the program into a tailspin. But now we are past the pandemic and we anticipate things being very well. The third item that I'm not certain to see is the graduation rate there, or placement rate. And much like the OTA program, we don't even have them out of the door on graduation day and they've already got a job. So there is a large need in the state of Missouri, especially in your rural setting. I, in fact, actually hired one before he was even through the program. So in anticipation, I knew he was coming. Okay, for the next academic year, 23-24, we had 23 students apply. We can take a maximum of 30, because that is actually how many seats I can actually physically sit students in when they come for their on-site classes. 22 have verbally accepted, 1 declined and jumped ship and went into the nursing program. There's 2 potential late arrivals that I'm working with State Fair and Moberly as to possibly them may be able to slide in. But you'll see the breakdown of students to their respective home campuses, which is where they will follow their school programs, policies, but you know, ultimately they graduate through the consortium, but they'll get their degree at that home. My student testimonial, he is a graduate from 2022. His name is Alexander Oliver, and he's actually from the Ukraine and lived in California and was working at Quest Diagnostics as a lab assistant. He has a bachelor's degree, but he was not, his bachelor degree is not in laboratory science, nor was he certified. But they allowed him and taught him to do some moderate testing, moderate level complexity testing. And when he moved out here to Missouri and got family, and he came to meet with me, I was like, you know, I know a program, and if I can hook you up, you got a job. And so we did some finagling and hoop jumping and got him in the program. And for him, he's a full-time father. He's a full-time employee of Boswell while he was being a full-time student. So as anyone can imagine, you know, you gotta be able to juggle a lot of things and multitask. You know, he was very appreciative of the opportunity itself of the online capabilities of the program gave him the versatility he needed in order to be able to juggle everything at once. And a lot of the students I have reached out to here historically in talking with them have said they absolutely love the practice on it. And actually, one of the hurdles we face in our MLT program is with every student that places at a clinical facility, that means one of their working productive people has to slow down their work process and teach someone. And that's a limitation. So for example, here at Bothwell, I can only take one student at a time because otherwise I can't give them the full training they need. I'm actually meeting up with a naturals educator on Monday to discuss a program she started down in Texas that actually shortens up that clinical on-site requirement, and her pass rates and success rates have averaged 95 to 100% for the last 10 years. So I went, okay, I got a lot I can learn from you. So I'm going to see if I can't springboard some of those ideas into the program here so that perhaps I can, here at Bothwell, run 2 or 3 students through instead of just one, so I can help put more people out in the field. Probably one of my other very lofty goals for down the road, maybe a couple, 2-3 years to learn everything and memorize everything I need to know, is I would love for the consortium to be linked to every community college that's not already in a program, so that we have an MLT presence everywhere across the state of Missouri. Is that possible? I don't know, but I figure if I don't try, I'm never gonna know. And I'll take something and become a fly on the wall until I get my answers. So I look forward to this challenge. We're looking at trying some innovative thoughts and process changes, not for this academic year, but for the future. So I'm already working with the advisory staff at all of the campuses. And I got 50% of my adjunct instructors resigned out in May. So I'm a little challenged, but I told them, well, I'll just spin my hat again. If I need to go teach micro, I'll go teach micro or flipping. Because I am a degree certified to be able to do that as well. So I hope not. We're in the interviewing process. But with these new teachers coming on board, I want to ensure that they integrate DEI into their teaching and be more focused on the schools of today. Back many, many years ago, when I went to school, you sat at the desk for 8 hours a day and you learned. And we know that the world has changed since then, so we have to adapt to change. So that is one of my other additional goals. I have a lot of post-it notes with goals of things I want to try. So that's the MLT program that I went in 5 months.
You guys have any questions? More questions or anybody else?
Okay, Patty, if you would like, I can address Richard's question about the tuition and rates and if you like.
Yeah.
So in February, when you include tuition rates, you also include tuition for OTA in the programs. So for instance, for the OTA program, we charge $270. Well, everyone in Source charges $270 an hour to a student. Then they charge us back $211. So we get to keep the difference between $270 and $211. That's our revenue. That would be what? $270 and $211 is basically $59. So $59 is ours. The other $211 goes to the consortium, which pays for all. They pay the instructor, the equipment, all that. On the medical laboratory technician, the set rate is $334 an hour. We charge the student, and we get charged back $261 for that. So we're making a $73 keep on that one. And then the other goes to pay for the program itself. Does that help you kind of understand the economics a little bit?
Actually, it was a little ulterior motive in asking the question, is because I had a citizen wonder why State Fair sent money to other community colleges. And I thought it was consortium, consortium programs. So I tried to clear up a misconception in the community, and that just told me I was on the right path.
So yes, theoretically, for the MOT program, we would be sending $261 per credit hour to Overlay. And then when we charge it for the sale, that would be their charge back to us for that. So that's, you're right, that it would seem, we do write a check to them for that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I will say that this is a fantastic consortium. We would not be able to offer these programs to our community by ourselves. And only through this consortium are we able to deliver these important programs. It's a wonderful model. We're looking for ways to expand into other programs. And I appreciate you all's work.
So much. Thank you.
Next, Darcy is going to read to us a dramatic interpretation of the assurance argument.
Well, I was a little worried. I happen to know that Richard has a printed copy. And I thought, let's see, sure, yeah, so I appreciate that.
Well, our limit was 35,000 words. And when I got everything in, there's a lot of versions of the last details put in, and I clicked on the word count, it was 34,999 words. And then I found the word missing somewhere, so we're right at the 35,000. Now we're scaled back about 100, but like I said, there's a lot of different shades of done. But I'm very happy to tell you today that 2.5 weeks from when we have to submit it, that it is in a very good shade of done. If you recall, I came in and visited with you a few months ago about the process and about what each of the criteria were and what the board's role was and so forth. And at that point, I hope I didn't let it show too much, but I wasn't real confident that we were going to get it done in time, but we did. It pulled together. It's pulled together quite nicely, I believe. We did contract with an external reviewer, someone who is a trained peer reviewer with the Higher Learning Commission, who could give us that unbiased feedback. And she helped along the way as we had bits and pieces. We could send to her, she could give us kind of some advice. And then at May 31st, I sent her the complete document and got a review back from her. She does have several just kind of proofreading things that I still need to go through and make some corrections on. But her overall impression was that the assurance argument is well written and reads well. There's abundant evidence to demonstrate compliance with the stated criteria. So that is an outstanding off the top review. She went on to give us this very similar compliments on criterion 1, 2, and 3. The section reads well, evidence is easy to track and find, the section's informative, easy to read. So there were a lot of very good, a lot of positives. I don't want to, paint too rosy a picture. There are a couple of areas that she says we're a little bit exposed on, but that we've done a very good job of kind of filling in the gap with her help over the last few months in writing this. One area it has to do with the DEI, and it's just simply because our DEI initiatives are in the infancy. We don't have a lot of a track record to tell them about. So she said, if it's signage, but if in capital letters, if they even mention it at all, the most that she would expect is they might want a progress report in a year or two, just to see how we're doing. The other area, which was, similarly, if it's cited, we might have to do some progress. Our evidence is a little bit thin on showing improvement in our operations based on data and assessment. So that's kind of the takeaways that we have from her feedback. Today, I compiled the list. I got feedback from all of the core component writers and got a list of all the people that they solicited help from throughout this writing process over the last year. And we have about 80 people on campus who have contributed in some way, some fashion to writing this document. So to me, that means we left no stone unturned. We looked everywhere. We got everything we could to try to show that we meet the criteria for accreditation and to prove that we do what we say we're doing. So that is my report. I understand Dr. Bates sent that the full page, the full assurance argument to you. So if you have any questions, I will be happy to point to someone else in the room to answer them.
Well, I think on the DEI, we've talked about being community college, and that means all segments of our community are being served. And that is the goal, is to serve all segments, all identifiable segments of our community. What we have been doing doesn't necessarily match the DEI language. And that's one thing that came across is the way the criteria was presented. We've been doing it, but taking a different approach than directly going word for word after how that criteria was being stated. So that's a reporting, and that's just for an issue. I think that's an issue of, yeah, we've done it, but we haven't done it in using your language.
80 people involved, but we had a wonderful leader in the process, Darcy. I recognize your role and kudos to you. And
Stay sane.
It was informative reading.
It is, it really is. And that's one thing we've done over the last month or so with ELT is they've had reading assignments, and we've discussed them in our ELT meetings because it is important for leadership, both the leadership team and you as the trustees, to know how we present ourselves to our accrediting bodies, to our community, and what services we're providing. There's sometimes things we didn't know.
Good job.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Darcy. Leave it if you want.
Yep.
All right. So number 8 on our agenda is policy 8200, which is appropriate use. And I think Martha's going to be doing that.
Policy 8200 is the next one up for this year, and it's the annual process of review of policy and regulations. So ITS Advisory Committee is on 8200 right now. So policy 8200 need to be revised to be a little bit more modern language, open it up. And really the only change that we're recommending is the original language included computing and networking resources. Well, 15 years later, it's a little bit different than that. So we are recommending the language of technological resources. That's really the biggest change.
So moved.
Right on, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion.
Second.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. E policy 3450 on travel reimbursement.
We're actually going to be eliminating policy. In the policy manual, we have 2 policies. One is on expense travel reimbursement, or mileage reimbursement. Travel reimbursement basically says that we'll reimburse for reasonable and necessary expenses in the conduct of business. And for all expenses, right under that, we had a mileage reimbursement expenses as a policy that effectively meant if we wanted to change the rate we reimburse for, you would have to approve that policy, which is really, it's a component of travel expenses. So it was kind of, in my mind, not appropriate for the vehicle also onto itself. So we're taking out and basically putting a regulation, the mileage reimbursement policy, and we're actually going to be prescriptive in it. Before, the policy was essentially, hey, when we get around to changing it, we'll let you know, and we'll follow some guidelines. There was no real clear definition of how we would change it, why, in what direction. So the regulation, we're going to be prescriptive in how we go about changing mileage. Essentially, we're going to take the state of Missouri rate, that's 5 cents, and that will be our rate, and we'll update it every July 1. So for instance, the state of Missouri rate is 60 cents right now, ours will be 57 cents. And then if there are any employees that have a call out, there's also a methodology to get to doing it. It's the same as we use the same methodology that had been done in the past. So basically, we get rid of a mileage reimbursement standalone policy and put it as part of travel expense regulation. And it will have to meet all the criteria of being appropriate college business conducted. Welcome back here.
All right, I want to entertain a motion to accept that travel and members. Is there a second?
Second.
If you have any questions or discussion,
Simplifies. Inefficiency.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, Dom Museum of Contemporary Art and the Art Ownership Transfer. Looks like we got man.
This is a standard procedure that we do when art is being purchased through our art acquisition committee. The last time they met was February 16th, and with Gary being the director, essentially they're playing catch up. So not always we receive a pamphlet that has much art in it, but this is where we're at. And then once the art acquisition committee meets, then it goes to the foundation board meetings. And so our quarterly meeting in May is when this was presented, and now the art acquisition comes around, we present it to the college. So it's just a standard policy that we have to put insurance involved in the art and the permanent collection. So we just need a motion in a second to accept this art acquisition.
All right, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. I will second. All right, any other questions or discussion for Mary? Thanks. All in favor?
Hard work.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mary. Okay, number 11 on our agenda is proposed naming request for the Center for Advanced Agriculture and Transportation Technologies. Again, Mary.
So the boards are up are the schematic design for the new CAP facility. So the board on the left is the floor plans, the board on the right is your aerial view. This is again kind of the standard process for building a new facility. The foundation determines the amount of money that is for naming options to our donors. And so each space has essentially a classified value to it. Anything from 50,000 to 250,000. As you can see in the chart, the building itself is asking for a naming option of 2 million. So in that entire facility, there is 32 options for naming opportunities in front of us. And so nothing really standard or nothing's changed or the standard of what we did to Olin Howard. So it is my opportunity to come to the board to explain that we will still keep a classroom at about 100. Classrooms will be at 100,000. There are some trainer spaces and storage rooms that are equivalent size of a classroom. And so some that are smaller will be 50,000. As of right now, just to let you know, we have one confirmed space, which is the lobby in the entire facility, and that was just spoke of way before we knew we were even building the building. So anyway, so I present the chart to you to let you know, and just to give you a general information too. If every space was named, that would be 6.8 million. Just a name. So the policy is held in the foundation, but the board of trustees has the information to accept the policies. Then later on, I will come to you with a list of donors that have actually named certain opportunities in certain spaces. Like that. So again, just a standard process that you just need to accept the motion or make a motion.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do you have any questions or discussion? Can you tell me where the lobby is in this map?
So if you look at this opportunity on your sheet, that's on number 11. There is a space right here, which is your entrance here.
Oh, where that car,
Yeah, there's a car.
oh, okay.
I'm not buying a car. I'm not buying another tractor. I'm just
Okay.
telling you all. I have an opinion on this.
Mary doesn't need a car
I
in.
don't want a car.
Like, where are they gonna work on it? Okay, so that's good.
Designs have always shown something in the lobby right now in regards to it. The only thing that's really changing that we've kind of visited with staff in regards to it, they have a display wall and they have a donor wall. The only thing in the lobby is really the donor wall will go on the conference room wall, and so this display kind of gets switched, which is minor details, but just if you're looking at the lobby right now.
Okay, yeah, I think the car button's putting the tractor in there. All right, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mary. So Keith, we're looking at the budget for FY 24.
Let's take a little bit of time on this one. First thing is, those there's some exhibits in tab 12, I want you to refer to. So we don't need to put the, you're gonna be, so the budget I'm about to present to you is all funds from all sources. Keep in mind, all funds from all sources that we're aware of right now, what that means. When we get to the total budget, authority will be asked for is 70,082,292. Okay, so 70,082,292 budget. What I'd like to do is start by actually reading the memo from Dr. Bates to the board, also so those from here, because it sums up and walking into the budget and we're going with it. So if you'll bear with me, a little bit long, but I think it's worth hearing. Everybody. So last year at this time, State Fair Community College had just opened the Olin Howard Workforce Innovation Center. First new building opened in over 15 years. In FY 23, COVID-19 pandemic had subsided, and college planning and operations returned, preparing for future growth and the well-being of the college. We are not waiting to see what the next 15 years will bring. We're making plans to prosper in it. In fiscal year 2023, many initiatives were completed and more were launched. We completed construction of the Surgical Technology Laboratory, classroom, and office space on the Clinton campus. We'll welcome our first students to this program this fall. We also closed on 200 acres of land contiguous to the west side of campus that will provide a working farm and cattle operations for our agricultural program and land for campus growth for decades in the future. We began renovations to the Fielding Technical Center for our new climate controls and technology program and expanded IEM program. Design is also well underway for a 65,000 square foot center for advanced agriculture and transportation technology. We're also finalizing the plans for a new 100-bed residence hall and laying out the space for comprehensive outdoor sports complex. We installed state-of-the-art radiology equipment and renovated our sonography labs. We're also fully renovating our campus dining facility, which will be completed in time for the fall 2023 semester. We also significantly increased our investment in professional development for our faculty as these opportunities open back up after COVID-19. In FY 24, we will continue the investments that will add to our infrastructure. However, our primary budget goal in FY 24 is to focus on our faculty and staff. The FY 24 budget is a robust budget with the largest investment in employee compensation in the history of State Fair Community College. In our mission to attract and retain stellar faculty and staff, we increased faculty base pay by 7% and provided a one-step salary schedule advancement. Full-time staff are receiving a 6% cost of living adjustment plus a 3% competitive market advancement. These increases were funded first in the budget and took precedence over all other funding requests. After these increases were budgeted, we also added new positions in areas where we are seeing substantial enrollment growth or student need. Positions added for FY 24 are a dual credit program administrative assistant, a full-time writing tutor, and the expansion of the part-time esports and shooting sports head coaches to full-time positions. Both of these programs are seeing exceptional growth and are attracting students to State Fair Community College. With the continued strength of the Missouri economy, the FY24 Missouri budget contains an increase of 7% or $11.3 million to the core funding for Missouri's 12 community colleges. State Fair Community College will receive $1.0 million of this funding, a 12.8% increase to our core funding. The state is also allowing SFCC to carry over $300,000 from one-time deferred maintenance funds, which are being utilized to complete the Yater Learning Center's chiller pipe replacement project when we began this year. State Fair Community College has also been awarded $4,424,525 in Mold Sales Core funds in FY24 to fund automotive and agricultural construction equipment for the state. Additionally, $2 million in Mold Sales Student funds were reappropriated from FY23 to 24 for renovation of and for the Building Technical Center. And finally, State Fair Community College was appropriated $7.5 million, $2.5 million reappropriated from FY23 plus $5 million this year, and state directed ARPA funds to be used for the construction of the CAP. All those will be included in this budget. The FY24 budget is based on a flat enrollment projection compared to FY23 enrollment. With the efforts our admissions team has taken to simplify our enrollment process, the expanded use of our Slate CRM tool, and the streamlined focus of our navigators, we are confident we can meet or even exceed this enrollment projection. The budget also includes the tuition, fee, housing, and dining rates approved February 2023 board meeting. The FY24 budget has been developed to provide greater opportunities and outcomes for our students, our faculty, and our staff, and our communities. Each department was engaged in the development of the budget and is the result of input from all areas of the college. We feel strongly that the FY24 budget aligns closely with our strategic plan and priorities. The significant and deliberate investments in our faculty, staff, programs, equipment, and facilities will provide SST students a strong foundation to enter high school careers or transfer to the four-year college of their choice. We are confident that the prioritization of our budget will lead to a stronger employee base and an increasing number of students choosing State Fair Community College to prepare for the future. The FY24 budget recommendation includes all known and forecasted revenues and expenditures for the current unrestricted funds, auxiliary funds, restricted funds, HC funds, and grant funds. Fiscal year 24 sheets included show the estimated revenues to be received by fund and source. Budgeted expenditures are shown by fund and department. If any additional funding sources or expenditures are identified during the year, these will be presented to the board, and by formal resolution, you may accept, alter, or deny as updates to the FY24 budget. It is hereby recommended the Board of Trustees approve State Fair Community College's budget authority for FY24 in the amount of $70,082,292 as follows below, and detailing in the following supporting documents. Education and general revenues, $33,110,930. Education general expenditures, $31,770,626. Auxiliary revenues, $3,997,120. Auxiliary expenditures, $1,632,680. Restricted revenues, $24,782,285. Restricted expenditures, $25,365,151. Agency fund revenues, $363,141. Agency fund expenditures, $203,904. Plant fund revenues, $8,042,582. Plant fund expenditures, $9,102,931. Dr. Bates, I want to thank the board, the faculty, staff, students in our community for their tremendous support and exemplary efforts over the past year and my first year as president. It's my privilege to work alongside the many talented faculty and staff that are dedicated to serving our students and our communities. State Fair Community College is stronger than ever, and I'm committed to work with each and every stakeholder to make the future even better. Thank you for that. That sums up what we're doing now. I'll go through the exhibits, tell you what's in them, and you can ask questions, and I'll go through some of what they are first, and we can discuss if needed. Page 1 says State Fair Community College fiscal year 24 budget. It's the summary by sheet. It's literally what we just read. This is what you're actually proving by fund, by source. That's what was in the memo from Dr. Bates, but substitute to that exact amount with a total budget surplus of 192,000, which is effectively break even. That's my concern. Pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the details of each of those funds, each organization, for you to look at, ask questions, or understand what they are as needed. I would like to call your attention actually to page 8, if I could. As part of this, I also need to let you know what our debt service is for the year. During the FY24 year, we have 1.6 million debt service due to our 3 loans, the Clean Energy Savings Project, the Certificate of Participation for HECR, and the Owen Howard Workforce Innovation Center. However, we are also receiving in funding $542,582 for the foundation for the Owen Howard Center. So you understand what our debt service is for the year. And lastly, the 70 million was all sources. So that includes everything, including the 7.5 million for the CAT building. It includes every Pell Grant, includes everything. Page 9 is labeled. It's probably a little more helpful for you. It is our actual operating budget. It's known as what our operating budget is. And that is the sum of our education and general revenues, so auxiliary revenues, and it's our restricted revenues minus the pass-through student aid fund, the Pell Grants, the A pluses, things like that. So what you see is you'll see that our total operating budget is 47.8 million approximately. There is an operating budget surplus of 1.1 million. There are several theories on that. That is, I keep that at that level so it can fund our debt service. Debt service not operating expense. There are certain colleges like to fund debt service out of reserves. We choose to fund debt service out of operating revenue. So I'm trying to make that. That's why you see that. So this may give you a better idea of kind of what our real operating budget is. So I can answer questions. We can approve the budget and their approval, but however we would like to proceed at this point.
The meeting with Justin, did he raise any concerns?
I should point out, we
Yes,
did meet
please.
individually with Justin Hobbs. Our treasurer went through the budget line by line. He asked some questions about line items in the orgs, and I think was satisfied with the explanation.
Need a motion?
So do you want to read that part?
Yes, so
Just
is-
to kind of make sure we
Yep.
understand.
So it is recommended the Board of Trustees approve the fiscal year 2024 budget, granting budget authority of $70,082,292. The FY 2024 budget includes a compensation increase and tuition increase as previously approved, and assumes a flat enrollment compared to FY 23. Thank you.
So any other questions or discussion? I know throughout the year, we appreciate you always keeping us up to date. So it's not like these things are all new to us. But here you come down to, to the final work. And so appreciate always knowing things that we've done.
Yeah, that point, we've talked about many of these items and expenditures and revenues previously and done a commitment to them. And so the budget comes to us as a compilation of several decisions that had been made during the course of the entire year. And then I think the enrollment report so far indicates that the flat enrollment is a reasonable assumption at this point in time. And we've received that. So our anticipated revenues, expenditures are in line with what we've been working with for several months now.
Richard, to piggyback on that, we had a college council meeting this week. It's our shared leadership group. And that group reviewed the assessment planning and budget process for the college for the last year. And their comment was they felt like the process was very transparent. They were involved in it. And they were very pleased with with the process. I also would like to recognize Keith and his leadership and entire executive leadership team for their leadership in the process. I thought they did a great job.
I agree. Yeah, we all do. All right, so we do have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, Keith, Commercial Driving Academy Simulator.
Let's get some of that budget tonight.
You are way on the draw.
So, as you know, one of the grants we received, or one of the grants that we received in the learning force has been for some workforce training in the CDL program. You know, they've approved some purchases of some trucks and some trailers. Now they're coming to add another simulator to the program which we have in the past. And these, you got, but it's recommended the Board of Trustees accept the bid for a VS 600M CDL truck simulator for garage simulation in Montreal, Quebec, which is the same place they bought the same simulator. In an amount of $232,800. Two other bids were received. They're basically the same. The simulator will be utilized for SFCC CDL training program, provide the CDA program with state-of-the-art training equipment to meet increased demand. This will be funding from the FY24 budget out of the ARPA Workforce Training Grant.
Motion to approve.
Go here second.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? Mark.
Commend on Commercial Driving Academy because by looking at social media and what we're able to post, it looks like we are just cranking out drivers. So that's absolutely amazing.
Mark Alfred, also represented, got to try that. And so Jolynn, if you want to share about, he has a newsletter he sends out and she received it. And
yeah, we've got the newsletter and he made a couple different posts, one about the advisory meeting that he had here and how, thanked us for being the host, and then commented on how he met the president at our community college and what a great facility we had, and put up the pictures of him doing the simulator. Also mentioned that he crashed the truck.
Multiple times.
He only mentioned it one time, but anyway. But he did crash it multiple times. So, and they also put a picture of him working on the welding simulator and then talking with Dr. Bates in front of our team. So in the prison meeting area. So it was really good. Be happy to forward it to you all. You all like to see it, so I'll just get on and do that for you.
Thank you.
thank you for sharing that. Okay, we have a motion and this, did you have?
This is one of those where we agreed to accept the money. And one of the conditions of accepting the money was that we spend this money for this type of equipment. So we'd have to give the money back if we didn't buy it.
That's right.
Just for saying, we could show the ignorance of the board by not accepting.
I won't go that far.
Theoretically.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Keith. Dr. Bates, employee emeritus nominations.
Last year, for 28-22, the board adopted policy 4625, which established employee emeritus. And we're here to recommend the first 3 employee emeritus from that policy. These 3 may recognize their names: Dr. Rhonda Hutton Dan, who is a retired Dean of Health Sciences, Russell Shoup, who retired this year, longtime CIS instructor, and Mariana Townsend, who retired, I believe, last year, but it may have been the year before. She was a longtime faculty member in political science and geography, and she. So there's a process. Once the nomination is made, it goes through a process, including approval by the employee groups that these people were members of.
all of these three has passed through that entire process successfully, and we're here to recommend our inaugural class of employee emeritus.
Entertain a motion.
To approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any other questions or? Okay, pretty straightforward. I'm glad that this program is getting started.
Good candidates for the first class.
Mhm, absolutely. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Dr. Bates, your president's report.
Been pretty quiet this meeting. The whole team's been doing all the work, which they would say that's the way it normally is. Which is true. I have a couple of things. I'll keep it relatively brief. I'd like to talk to you about enrollment. I have included at your table figures from summer. These are the summer enrollment census figures put together by Judy Riney in our IR department. And so if you turn to page 2, where the rubber meets the road is the credit hours sum. That's how we pay for how students pay for their classes is the credit hours. And so you can see the credit hours increase from 2022, 5,035 to 2023 this year, 5,111. So it's an increase. It's a small increase, a 1% increase or so. But it's significant that it's an increase. So there's a lot of details there. You don't think about it looking at the parking lot that we have 939 students studying in the summer session. Many of those online, but it's still significant semester for us. Then I'd like to give you an update on our fall enrollment. Richard inferred that our fall enrollment is looking pretty good. At this point in time, comparing today to the similar date prior to census last year, our head count is up 12.7%, and our credit hours are up 7.5%. So this enrollment's been trending this way for a large part of the cycle. Knock on wood, it's still early to put it in the bank. It's good to share positive numbers at this time of year. I will say, if you look down at the sites, Boonville, dual credit, Lake of the Ozarks, and Sedalia campus are all up double-digit percentages in credit hours at this time. So they're knocking it down the park. Boonville, 50%. So Bethany and her crew are truly knocking it on the park. So Dr. Porter and her crew continue to work hard. She's given detailed reports on admissions and keeps us up to date on admissions numbers and the wait time for appointments in the navigators, and all of these are holding pretty good. And they're working the admissions process better than it's been worked for years. So I compliment that team and credit that work for a good part of the enrollment. Good news in enrollment, but we're cautiously optimistic. I'm an optimist always, but
We speak in hush tones.
yes, you don't need on to it a lot. You don't want to jinx it. This week we had a meeting, Dr. Murders and Allison and myself had a meeting with the ambulance district representatives. And we continue to work towards an idea of them building a ambulance station and a training center on our campus and helping us to get started a paramedic program. It is our intent to bring to you at the July board meeting for you to consider an MOU to kick off that project. And they're eager to get started on that. So Dr. Murder shared some figures today, and so with them, and I will submit to them a draft of the MOU tomorrow. And so we're working that process. Dr. Murders has had experience in starting and operating paramedic programs at other schools and has great contacts and is on a first name basis with members of the accreditation industry, and has their phone numbers in his phone and that kind of thing. And so he's working on a unique model where we can kind of get started very quickly with, in a very efficient way, and with some partnerships through some contacts that he has. So I'm excited to share about that. So all of that is leading up to the Mo Excels 5 application, which is due next week, July 7th. So you know that the previous 4 Mo Excels programs have provided important sources of funds for us for our major initiatives at the institution. So Dr. Murders, Allison, and Sean Cripes, our grant writer, have been working furiously on Mo Excels 5, and this is the concept that they're going to be presenting. The concept will be to the items on this project. They will be renovating Deck 2, the back cave, the OTA was referred to. It used to be the student unit.
I've been there.
Yeah. So there's a big part of that's going to be vacated when automotive moves to the CAP. And so they have a plan to backfill that as an advanced health science annex. So the idea is to move dental hygiene out of the multi-purpose center into Tech 2, or into the advanced health science annex. And then they would also move and expand. Right now, our OTA labs are also in the multi-purpose center. So those labs would be moved over to this annex as well. And they would be expanded so we could handle larger classes in OTA. In addition, we have the medical assisting program that primarily has been operating out of the extended campuses, but for the first semester this year is being offered in Sedalia. And this annex would provide a lab for the medical assisting program here in Sedalia, so we could expand our offerings for medical assisting here in Sedalia. And then finally, it would provide funds for developing and deploying a new EMT and paramedic program. So it pretty much, it would provide funds for the equipment to get that program started. So our partnership with the ambulance district will provide the facility. This grant would provide the equipment, and Dr. Murder's unique kind of staffing partnership would help us get that program up and running. So that's a grant request is 2.9 million. Is that right?
That one, yes.
Yeah, or the Mo Excels 5. So that's 5 because it's FY25 when it is administered, so that it'd be in this grant project. So I compliment the team on their work in putting this grant together. I think they have 20 letters of support or so from people in the community and around the region for these projects. I think it's the grant makes a lot of sense. And so any questions about that I would have to refer to the experts, because I've expended all of my knowledge right now.
I think the multi-purpose center into a dedicated facility for education lab. I think that is an exciting prospect. That's all. That's, they just need more space in a more academic setting than a multi-purpose center. So I'm glad to hear that's being thought about.
That reminds me of a question one of the legislators asked me during the freshman legislative tour a couple of weeks ago. They said, how in the world can you do all that you do? They were so impressed with that. And part of it is that entrepreneurialism that this team is showing on this project, and our teams all across the college show. So
We hustle to get the biggest bang for our buck for our community.
The biggest challenge will be, we'll be competing, typically MoExcel is about growing Missouri and its amount of certificates and things like that. Well, we've been focusing on advanced manufacturing in all those areas, which is the right thing to do. That's what others will continue to do. And we wanted to take a shift because we believe we're on track to continue to do what we need to do. And throwing more money at that at this time, we don't really need that. We've got the things in place. So we wanted to go to health science. So that will be our biggest challenge, will be competing against the others as far as, so writing this in a way where the certifications and the number won't be as big, but we're trying to write it in a way to show them that without healthcare, that's the other piece of CTE, but it also supports that economic development and so forth. So we're trying to spend a little bit of time on trying to make them aware that we focused on manufacturing and we've showed them those results. Now we want to focus on the other leg of CTE and focus on where we feel like healthcare is also viable. So we're hoping that this is a good timing. So, but we do know we're kind of against the grain. Yeah, going against the grain with other applications.
Accentuating the existing job shortage.
Yes, sir.
All
Get
those,
those.
in all those fields,
Allison did a great job. She's got all those built in
and so it may be different from the manufacturing, but being different sometimes makes it stand out. You draft it and make it stand out.
Well, they knocked it out of the park and I fully expect it to be a highly rated proposal. Good job. That's my report.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Bates. And a nice job with the freshman legislative tour. They definitely said our campus is amazing. Yeah, as you say, can't believe the way it looks and all the things that we do. So thank you for that. So Keith, how about a financial report?
One profession wants to say when they look at an X-ray and there's not much there, there's nothing remarkable in the crash report. But honestly, May is a really slow month.
I just got it. Should have used that on our tour.
So, like I said, we're expecting last year, tuition and fees, let's say, we'll know where we're gonna come in, 1.5 what we were, we expected that. Other things are up, we'll see that, local property taxes are up, what we expected, which is good. Say appropriations, we're a little bit higher, that's the way we budgeted some of that. But coming in, right now, our revenues are running ahead, and then, expenses, sometimes you increase revenues, particularly when our state grants and contracts increase, we have to increase the expenses along with them. So that's why that was our learning course, things like that. That's where you see some expense there. But overall, we're still ahead at a net level of where our projections would be. I will tell you we'll end the year ahead of that since it's June 29th. I sort of have an idea where June's ending up. Sort of, maybe. So it will come in ahead here, but so there overall, I would say it's a good, in the year we're ending up in a good spot. And then in terms of the next item on the agenda, then we'll roll into that. Any questions, folks? Some purchase we made that I need for policy report to you on purchases between 10,000 and 25,000. Plus it touched a few things we're doing. We spent 11,375 on the horticulture, mom cannon irrigation for the fall. They have an area out there for the horticulture program where they grow mums. They went in and put some irrigation in and leveled out some land. So at that point, that was actually paid for by a enhancement grant.
Yes.
Enhancement grant. So that was enhancement grant. You saw in some of Allison's areas, the epoxy floor area. Well, we also did some of that in the NPC booster area where they were having some issues with the floor. And we went there and put that same, actually, that was the one that started it for everybody else. But spending 11,108 in that area, really concrete, putting in that epoxy floor. Hypothesis LMS and actually it's a Canvas module, allows for students to collaborate on notes online, make notes enlarged, basically collaborate together during edits. And so we re-up annotation on LMS. And Watermark Insights, that was a re-up for next year. And that is our new course evaluation software. It used to be done with SurveyMonkey. Now we have them do it. It's as a little plus. And we actually proved that last year, and this is a re-upping for next year. So it's kind of an idea of things we spent that don't necessarily need your approval, but are in that area of what we do.
Thank you. Any questions for Keith? Thank you. All right, time for board discussion. First on there, we already put on because we knew that Richard and I have attended the MCCA trustee and executive leadership conference that was down at Camden on the Lake, June 20th through the 22nd. Several other leadership people were there. Dr. Bates was in the wheat field, so he was not able to attend. So Richard, you want to share what you remember?
I think the focus this year of the leadership was going forward, looking where our community college sector is going to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years, and trying to prepare the sector to be ready to serve the needs of students and communities going forward. We did a part of that. The Missouri Community College Association had not had a vision, mission, and value statements. And so we did a process of that. And I think in 2 hours total, came up with 95% of the vision, mission, and values that are going to be done going forward. Dr. Beatty from Metropolitan Community College led that process and was an excellent facilitator for that process. One of the things that came out is the pathways to completion, which is essentially going to be an accountability issue. When students enroll, how to make sure that students complete, that they come in with a goal, and how do we help them attain the goal. And that will be a focus. That was sort of a general focus. And the suggestion was that going forward, we can look at that becoming an accountability piece. The funding model, state of Missouri looking at, we had a couple of speakers address that. It's one of those things where the legislature set up this for performance-based funding, and the study was done and came back. Performance-based funding is a good idea after you have a solid foundation base. And the thing was, unfortunately, Missouri is significantly underfunded in the foundation base for what community colleges need. So there probably won't be, my impression was that we're probably going to have performance funding because until the legislature would decide to build up a base to where everybody will be equal going forward. There's just not enough money in enough schools to really make performance funding fair and equitable. I seriously question, my opinion is that the performance model will be sort of on hold because the legislature, I don't think, will want to make this large investment that will be necessary to and performance funding. There's also some talk about the, in the pathways to completion of community colleges granting four-year degrees. And there was some, you can tell that from campus to campus that there was significant, well, there was no unanimity of what the campuses were thinking about that prospect. That some thought it was a good idea, others thought that the partnerships we now had and articulation agreements with the four-year institutions met the needs of the students, or that we could tweak those. And so there'll be an issue that will be out there, and we'll probably be looking at that in the next 5 years. Moving forward. So those were the highlights of the executive leadership conference for me.
Yeah, very well done. Yeah, so we were able to meet the new commissioner for higher education, Dr. Boggs. Also, I found it interesting. I did not know that the Phi Theta Kappa was formed in Missouri. And many others said the same thing, but they presented, giving us an overview and planning and just talking about, what their role is in helping the higher education. And so, but knowing that, actually that Phi Theta Kappa was something that started in Missouri. I don't think I knew that. So very well done, Richard. Thank you for that. And so, yeah, it was just definitely a time to get with others and find out what's happening on their campuses, but to have some of those professional leaders that could come and give us some things that kind of give us insight on, as you say, going forward. And then, of course, we ended with a legislative session with ACCT. Her name was Carrick Warwick. Yeah, so quite so with public policy. So very informational. Glad that we had the opportunity to go and so encouraged. Thinking about next year, we don't know the dates. I don't think they shared them at the point, but
It's the same time.
same time. Because this year was a little later, wasn't it? Usually it's Memorial Weekend.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
It's always at this.
Oh, they're gonna keep it
During
at this.
Kansas week.
Okay. Yes, so, well, we missed Dr. Bates, but Keith and Dr. Murders took care of us and made sure that we behaved. So we always know that Dr. Bates was told to never leave any of your board members alone. So we behaved, did we not? Did we not?
We did not. I mean, we did.
We did not.
You said we did.
Did we not? Yeah. So thank you for the opportunity to go. Enjoyed that time. Any other board discussion, things that?
I will state that share that if anybody wants to read a hard copy of the insurance agreement that I've finished, if you'd like to take a look at that. I would like to suggest that on one of our institutional reports, we talk about Core 42. That came out in the assurance argument. And I think that's something we really haven't discussed, looked at in the board the time I've been on the board. And I think that would be important to talk about.
Good.
The Kiwanis Club kicked off their Avenue of Flags today, and State Fair Community College has played a huge role in helping the Kiwanis Club really kick off that community event there. And so on behalf of the Kiwanis Club, thank you very much for coming in on that. Our very own Dr. A. Cup was able to speak.
Wow.
There you go. Was able to speak.
gosh.
Fantastic turnout today, and I really think because of State Fair's involvement in this event, it's really gonna, I think, put a lot of peer pressure on many others around the community to get involved and show their patriotism as well. So thank you again, guys.
The college was the presenting top sponsor for Arts Fest in Benton County. The judge was one of our staff faculty here, and the dome director Dr. Austin came down and I believe his son won the chalk drawing contest for the kids. So, Jolene, of course, was there and her husband, and I think there may have been other ones. Anyway, it was just it was a hot, kind of miserable weather day, to be honest. But that was a very nice presentation and showing, and it was just nice. Also, I've seen the signs in Lincoln. They both look great on the building and also along the highway. So that's really nice.
And for Missouri's Best 2024, State Fair Community College won Missouri's Best Technical College. That just came out today.
Oh,
We did it again. It was the third, fourth year. 8 years. 8 years.
Good, because we just got a wrap put on a trailer that says.
Genetically.
You have one more year.
Anything else? Well, thank you. Appreciate you sharing. So our next meeting, if you see our agenda 19, next meeting will be held on July 27th, which is a Thursday, 5:30 here in the Hopkins boardroom. They'll let us know if we think we need to have a work session. If necessary, we will have though pretty soon another.
Well,
Board retreat.
the board retreat is the 29th, the Saturday right after that, so.
So anything else you can think of? We are going to be going into closed session, but just note that after our closed session, we will then immediately adjourn. There will be no other items after our closed session. So we thank you all for joining us, whether it be right here in person or via Zoom. Always appreciate it for what you do and that you're here with us when we have these meetings. So I would entertain a motion to go into closed session for A, hiring, firing, disciplining, or promotion of personnel pursuant to RSMO section 610.021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Amy,
Yes.
Justin, Richard,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Patricia.
Yes. We'll request Dr. Murders, Keith, and also Scott Semino.
That's correct.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
So the practicing for if you will stay, we would appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here.
Nice.
If you need a quick trip to run somewhere, or I didn't get a cookie for supper. So.
Oh, I ate them all.
Oh, no. Oh,
Hey, buddy. You know, good. I was so happy. You got it.